Hello, and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Sports. My name is Michael Brazil, and this is a show where we get to talk about sports, we get to talk about business, and we get to talk about everything in between. However you're listening, wherever you're listening, please smash and subscribe on YouTube. Please 5-star review on Spotify. Please 5-star review and say something really nice about me. Thank you. Thank you, Dakota. Say something nice about me and my friend here, Dakota. Hunter is the Senior Account Director at True Speed Communication. Dakota, how you doing today, man?
It's going good, man. Thanks for having me on here. Big fan.
Pleasure is all mine. Excited to get to talk to you about what you do, selling and slinging and racing and sponsorships, all this stuff I really do enjoy. But Dakota, before we get into any of that, first question I have for everybody on the For the Love of Sports podcast is, why do you love sports so much?
Man, I grew up playing sports. It's something that taught me discipline. It taught me about life. It taught me about teamwork, about community, about being coachable, coaching. I think that it's a very undertold story that sports is something that teaches you about life. So I take a lot of what I do in life and try to compare it to sports. And so I've always fallen in love with it. I'm still in love with it, and I'm just blessed and fortunate to be able to work in sports. I mean, we have the coolest job in the world that we get to work in sports. Yeah.
It's so, I could be doing what I do in like consumer packaged goods, as could you, but like, come on, like I would much rather be doing it in an industry that I thoroughly enjoy.
I'd be buying sponsorship if I was in that.
There you go. See, I love it. Look at that already. You're already kind of figuring out how you're gonna get your way back into sports there, man. But I think that's so smart. And yeah, I mean, I just love, at the company that I'm at, the first 5 minutes to every business call is recapping the weekend of football or what's going on in hockey or basketball because we haven't noticed. So like, why not, man? Why not?
That's right. But exactly.
I'm so excited, man, to get to talk to you. I always love stories where people get into the industry, sports specifically, in unique ways. And I really love your story, obviously, and then kind of what you've been doing in the industry in terms of during the pandemic, what you were able to do with sponsorship, how you've really been able to grow and kind of learn your way into the current role. Again, Senior Account Director, you don't mess around with that. You've been able to learn and grow into that position. So let's just start off there. Like, explain to the audience. You explained it to me and I loved it. So I want the audience to hear the story of kind of how you were able to break into working in sports in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up playing sports and always wanted to be in it, and I did not know how or what that meant. So all I knew was have fun, work hard, work your butt off. So in college, we're going through, it's your freshman year. You have no idea what you want to do with your life. I thought I was going to be an engineer and actually wanted to work on race cars.
That's cool.
Until statistics, calculus hit, and I realized that was not my life, not my personality. I'm a talker. I'm a relationship guy, and so communication came along, and I was like, that's what I need to do. That's how I'll get into sports. So freshman year, got through that. Then I got to my sophomore year and said, how do I get into internships as soon as possible? I don't know if I'm even allowed to do internships, but how do I get in? And so talked to some people, talked about getting in, and just couldn't really find anything. It was kind of difficult. You sent a lot of replies, this, that, and the other. So get into my latter half the sophomore year, get into junior year, and now I'm a valet. I'm a valet trying to make some cash on the side. It was a great gig. Here in North Carolina, a place called Birkdale. It's a restaurant called Red Rocks Cafe. And me and my roommate just decided, like, let's go valet and just try to meet as many people as we can. I mean, this is a great networking opportunity. Plus, we're driving crazy cars, Ferraris, Porsches, Lambos, you name it. Like, there's like a launch code to even start it up. So you're this 18-year-old kid that they're trusting with your car, and you don't even know how to start it.
Yeah, that part to me, not to cut you off, man, but that never. If I have a car like that, dude, I'm sorry, I can park the thing myself. I'll still give you the $20, but I'll park the thing myself.
I couldn't believe they trusted us with it. I mean, they don't know what we're going to do around the corner anyway.
Exactly, dude. You've seen all the movies. Come on.
That's
anyway,
right.
I apologize. Keep going.
No, that's my thought exactly. If I'm ever fortunate enough to own a Lambo, then I'll think that way too. Yeah, man. So we're valeting cars, and we're trying to meet as many people. We're having a lot of connections, but there's nothing from the intern level. So I'm driving a car, very regular car, I look up and it has a lanyard on it, it says NASCAR. I'm like, I know what that is. Grew up around sport a little bit. I know what a NASCAR hard card is, and I flipped it around, and I was kind of a little bit of a creep here, but I took the guy's name down, wrote it down on my phone, and was like, I need to see if he's on LinkedIn. Like that would be awesome. So I remember we exchanged. He gave me a tip. I said, hey, nice to meet you. I'd love to get in sports one day, and he said something about oh, that's awesome. You should get into an internship. I was like, yeah. So we kind of left the conversation there, and then I, of course, immediately I'm like, this is what I got to do when I go home. Find him on there, ask him for it, and he said something along the lines of, that took a lot of guts. That's somebody we were definitely looking for who would just approach us and ask to get an internship. And there it was. It was Charlotte Motor Speedway. I was able to get into the marketing department at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Start there, worked my tail off, like stocking refrigerators, packing boxes, moving furniture. Like if I wasn't moving, I need to walk in and ask somebody, how can I help you at all times? I mean, it was exhausting, but it was something that I knew if I need to differentiate myself from someone else, I keep seeing that guy asking how he can help. And there's no specific role that's too good for him. He wants to sweep the floors. He wants to move my furniture. He wants to do whatever it takes to just keep meeting people, bring people coffee. And that led into, hey, would you be willing to come back and do this again? Sure. In what capacity? Well, the communication department. Sure. Okay. Let's learn that side now. So the whole next semester was communication department. In that capacity, it was the Coca-Cola 600, and my boss at the time, I said, hey, I'd like to get introduced to more people so I can get that next step at some point. And he said, every person that you hand a water to when you're, doing the stocking refrigerator, get their name, figure out what they do for a living, and I'll try to follow up with them and introduce them to you as well. So stocking refrigerators, and I remember meeting a bunch of people, but I remember one name, and he said, have you met this guy Mike Arning? It's like, yeah, I think I did. I think he works with Stuart Haas and those guys and Tony Stewart. And he said, let me introduce you. And it was one of the guys that I had met, and he was impressed that, hey, you're just introducing yourself to people. And lo and behold, name right here, True Speed Communication, years on down the line, been here for 7 years now, offered me a job while I was still in college to represent young driver Cole Custer, who was a young Xfinity driver, just starting, needed to learn how to interact in this sponsorship world, needed to learn how to carry himself on the television, just young kid that's never been taught how to do this yet, and I'm in college starting out, trying to figure that out. Him. Trying to teach him this, and I've got exams. I got to take exams at the same time. I remember one weekend, I'm helping represent Cole, and I'm trying to figure this out. And they said, hey, one of our guys isn't able to make the race. Can you represent Kyle Busch this weekend? Yeah.
I think I can. Yeah.
I think
you got the job already. The exam is what it is.
Let's do it. By the way, I have an exam. I'll be studying for that in the media center. So we just got thrown right into the fire. Like it's sink or swim mentality. Say yes, do it, try it. And honestly, I don't think that weekend went very well. I think my radio was dying. I couldn't figure out how to turn it on. I don't remember which way we're supposed to walk to get somewhere. I mean, it was a wreck of a week, but it was, a point where I realized, like, wow, I'm in a great position that I can grow in and try to succeed. So
that is awesome.
Yeah, man, it's been a good journey.
He probably noticed you were some 20-year-old kid anyway, so it was like, whatever. Like, worst case, he'll figure it out. He's, top of the sport. It didn't matter that much. But no, man, I think it's so cool, and I love just that initial piece of the story, right? Valet cars specifically to try and meet people. Like, how many people out of 100 would be willing to do that? I like to think of myself as an outgoing person. I don't think I would do something like that. Like, I mean, I'm not a car guy either, but, like, that's just such a unique way of getting out in front of people and understanding, like, you need to know somebody. I don't care what industry you're trying to get in, sports specifically. It's a very small industry. if you know somebody, there's a significantly better chance that you'll get in with them or someone of their friends, or they know somebody they can introduce you to, as that then happened with you, which I think is really important and, again, got you to where you got. And you've been here for, what, 6-7 years now, if I'm not mistaken?
My 7th year.
So they're treating you well, which is pretty cool, right? Like, obviously, they're doing good by you, so.
That's right. And even just one aspect of that in between that I kind of skipped through was, and for all of your listeners that are worried if they can't find an internship or they don't know what to do at this time and they don't feel like they have it together. There was a period of that time where I didn't have an internship right away. I had the rest of my senior year still, and I started to panic. Like, I don't have anything set up. I've had this job I've had these 2 internships. Am I supposed to, have already known somebody? Well, I reached out to a couple teams, a couple agencies, and heard nothing back. I'm like, oh no, man, I really hope those connections paid off. Well, in the meantime, I decided, well, an internship's just free work, basically. So why don't I just call the president of Darlington Raceway that's 2.5 hours away and see if I can just go work for free, just see what that means. Of course, get on the phone with him, says, well, yeah, of course I want free help.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you? He taught me ticket sales. He taught me where the pipes run under the racetrack. He taught me how to fill the cracks in the racetrack to get it ready. Marketing, everything that goes into a racetrack and a facility. That was a deeper dive than I even learned at Charlotte Motor Speedway because there was nothing going on over there. I mean, I just by taking a week and saying, I want to do some free work, I learned so much from that. And of course, now knowing the president, of Darlington Raceway and having this Rolodex of these top tier giants in the sport for a week of free work. And
awesome.
Then everything worked out after that. So.
Yeah, it sounded like it did, but that's such another little piece of the story you definitely glossed over. Calling the president of a motor speedway is not. Did you know this guy? Was he someone that you met through Charlotte? Like, how do you even happen upon this guy's telephone number?
Yeah, well, so he worked in the sport for a long time, and he ran the media center basically. He knew everyone's name in the media center. He was just the man. When he walked in, named Kerry Tharp, he knew everybody, and he was in charge of knowing everybody in the media as well. So he was the kind of person that if you walked in that media center and he looked at you and didn't know you, he'd make a mental note and go, I'm going to figure out who that is. So after a while, you just get approached by this guy, and he's like, so what's your name? What's your name, son? And you tell him your name. He goes, where'd you go to college? What are you, a football fan or a basketball fan? He used to work at Gamecocks, South Carolina Gamecocks Athletics, so he's always trying to find this connection with people. And so that's where I really got to know him through that internship. And later on, of course, he became the president of Darlington. And hey, let's give him a call.
Look at that, man. That's awesome. It always comes down to networking. It always comes down to connections. I tell people
Absolutely.
as often as I can. I mean, through the pandemic, it was very easy, right? You hop on LinkedIn, you reach out to one person a day. Now we're back to something that resembles normal, at least in most places in the country. Go meet people, man. There's nothing like someone shaking someone's hand. There is literally nothing like it, having that conversation face-to-face. I'm grateful enough to be able to do this with you today, Dakota. At least it's semi-face-to-face.
Yeah.
Sorry, not going to make it down to North Carolina anytime soon. I'd like to. Probably not anytime soon.
We'll get you out to a race.
Yeah, dude, invite me down. I'll come. Absolutely. I love drinking beer. Like, it's my favorite, one of my favorite things to do, man. No, I can't. But no, I love it, dude. And so you start working with Cole. Say his last name again for me. I don't want to butcher it. Custer. Okay. So you start working with him. You're like, what does that look like? You're 20, 21, 22 years old. This kid is also around the same age as you. He's looking to you to learn. You're looking to yourself to also learn. Like, how are you kind of managing this relationship, showing some sort of confidence, outward confidence at least, because that's probably what he needs, right? He's a young kid. He's up and coming. He needs a little bit of that. How are you able to show that type of confidence and actually be able to back it up, or with some sort of information that will make him feel better and also help him perform better in the areas of expertise that you're showing him in?
Yeah, no, and one of the key words you said right there was confidence, and that is so key in a role like that, and for anybody that's young. But confidence isn't just built out of thin air necessarily. I had a group of 100 years worth of veterans that have been in this sport. So when I came in, this group was incredible. They've been through many things, many good things, bad things that you could possibly go through in public relations. So I got a really good start there. I have a really good the owner and president of this company has been around and been through a lot as well. But then from there, that same thing with working with Kyle that day, like just have confidence, but be ahead of the game, learn as much as you can, and speak with authority. Like this is what's going to happen because this is what is in your best interest. And then just being relatable. Like, man, I'm a young guy too. We're gonna figure this out together. But been in this sport for a little while now, from internships to having this veteran group of guys around me. And I think that built a lot of credibility early on that, okay, like he is working really hard. He's got a great group. I think what he's saying probably is the right thing to do. And even from our first media day, oh my gosh. And I'll show this to Cole too. Like we walk in and it's his first media day and you have to do like 23 media hits and they're liners too. So on top of kind of being nervous about what to say and how to carry yourself, you have to know how to look at a screen and go, all right, I can memorize 17 lines and then recite it back. So I mean, we got a full 10-hour day on our first month together of succeeding and failing all at the same time in this long day of media. So got a lot of practice there together. We did a lot of things about learning who the CEO is that's going to come out and going, all right, I found him on LinkedIn. He went to Kentucky and they're playing blah blah blah. Find out who's going to win when that game's over. Find out who won, and then talk about it when you meet him. He's got a daughter; she plays sports. Ask him about that. That was so key to see him go from not really knowing how to have a conversation with a C-level executive to going, hey man, so how's your daughter Sarah doing? She's playing softball still, right? And you're like, yeah, that's amazing. And it's just making that personal connection with each other. That's really what got us over the hump there. And then just continuing to do more and more media that got them comfortable.
I love it. That's such great advice. Anybody out there listening, I mean, that's such awesome advice. The easiest thing, right? Like you go to a big school and they have a football, basketball program. That's the easiest conversation starter in the world, right? Like it's like you see someone wearing a Yankees hat. Pretty much anyone in America can at least hold a conversation about the Yankees, right? Like all you have to do is pretend.
Yeah,
and you can have that.
How about those Yankees? Yeah.
How about them Yankees? That's it. They'll talk. Just let them talk and then ask questions. It's really not that difficult.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think it's awesome, right? It sounds not that difficult, but then there's people like yourself that have made a career out of this, which I think is cool. And a lot of people still don't utilize this information. So hopefully, Dakota, they are paying attention there. So you start on the media side with Cole a little bit. You eventually do become, I guess, more of a business manager to some other drivers, including Aric Almirola.
There you go. Yeah, you nailed it.
So talk to me a little bit about that. Like what are other things that come with being a business manager that are not just kind of, hey, doing media hits, doing that? Like what are some of the things that you start doing and how do you even find yourself, again, falling kind of into this opportunity?
Yeah, so the first thing I'll say that kind of goes back to the internship and doing a lot and working hard is I only got that opportunity because I was wearing a ton of hats that not a lot of people would sign themselves up for. So on the same time I was with Cole, I was also like the team videographer for Stewart Haas. Like I just had a video background, but they hired me as like, yeah, he does everything because he's interned everywhere and he's tried everything. So there was not one, like that was my main job, but videoing and editing in a very low capacity. We have a videographer now that's
more than everybody else, right? That's all.
Right?
That's all you need to do. Be better than everyone else.
I can set up a tripod. I can click record, and I can go back and edit it, make sure the lighting's good. And that's what I did. So I literally met Aric Almirola, videoing a liner for him, and we introduced ourselves and. We both carried ourselves very well, and he walked away from that and said, who is that? I'd love to, get to know him. I'm looking for somebody to manage some of my business. I don't need a big-time agent that knows everything already that costs a lot of money. I just need somebody that's going to work hard and figure it out. So he asked around. I was still working with Cole at the time, and asked if I would start as a business manager. I had no idea what that meant.
But you said yes, of course.
Yes, of course. Let's do that. I'll be your business manager, all while being these 6 other hats that I'm wearing. Why not? We'll see what happens. And lo and behold, we meet, and he had one partner kind of on the hook. It was a sunglass partner, and a lot of the things was, hey, I need somebody that's going to basically manage all of the things that I have from a media perspective, from a business perspective, from a logistical perspective, and help me pull all those in together to make them work together. A lot of people and I don't want to call out too many agents, but there's a lot of groups that have there's one athlete and there's 5 people for that athlete, and they're all pulling at the same thing, and they're not always pulling in the same direction. And so what he wanted was somebody that's going to make sure that his primary partners, the big spenders that are on our race car, Smithfield, Go Bowling, Ford Mobile One, all of those that are going to continue to grow, and then all at the same time, like the media is a part of that. The social media is all a part of that. And then business development is a part of that, so long that it doesn't take him away from those major partners. And so that's kind of where it started. It was like, I don't really know what this means, but all I know is I need to help you grow, and I want to weave in all of these things together because they feed off of each other.
And I think that's really important for people to understand is, as you said, like there's multiple people pulling on the athlete in different directions. Mm-hmm. By kind of having that one central figure as yourself, you're able to say, hey, like all of these things can push you in the correct direction if we just utilize them all in the right way, right? It is social. It's sponsorship. It's the activation of the sponsorship. It's the partnerships. It's all that stuff. So I think that's really cool. And it's interesting, and shout out to Aric for pretty much saying, like, hey man, like you look like you at least want to try. Like, let's see how this goes. Like, what were those first few weeks, months like, where it was you were really kind of drinking from a fire hose, learning as much as you could, and just trying to make sure that this guy was making a couple bucks along the way?
Drinking from a fire hose is right. Terrified. You're double checking and triple checking yourself. You're looking at this schedule that you're putting things in. You're like, man, don't mess this up, because just like Cole, I need to establish a credibility so that I can be confident in myself and that he can be confident in me. So those first 3 weeks or month was, I'm like writing things on my computer, then I'm printing it, and then I'm making notes about it. And I remember the first meeting I had with him, because at the time there's still a marketing person at Stewart Haas Racing, and there's still other things that were connected at the time. And I made this like one sheeter that had so much information on it, and I put it out there, and everybody like wide eyed was like, "Oh my gosh!" I didn't know that was a good thing or a bad thing, because, and afterwards I was like, "Was that okay?" And they're like, "That was amazing. No one's ever put all the details out there like that." It's like, okay, cool. Well, we're doing something right.
We'll just keep doing that, and hopefully,
that. Yeah, that's right. Drinking from a fire hose until you catch up, but. Anytime I've been put in a position where I'm not sure, I just know to just try a little more, work a little harder than I know, stay up a little later, get up a little earlier, triple check yourself, because that confidence gets built up when you go, oh, I got a little win. I'm going to carry that momentum into the next week. Like, good. But it's when you're not confident in something and you go and you kind of give it your half effort or a little bit of effort and you're still nervous. Well, you should be nervous because you may have missed something. Mm-hmm. And when you do, you feel more nervous, you get less confident in yourself, and so does the athlete.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, you have to understand that they're the business, right? Their brand is the business. And that's actually, I kind of want to segue there for a second. Like, athletes understanding that they are a brand, especially in racing, right? Where it is, obviously they're a part of the team, but at the same time, it's them. They are the brand to themselves. They are the business. What was it like kind of coming into that situation and understanding, like, he is the business, Aric is the business, and we have to make these things revolve around him, and him understanding the power of the opportunity that comes with becoming a brand? How were you able to kind of facilitate and get him to understand completely what that meant, and then be able to kind of be that trampoline, that launching pad that then brought him more opportunities and more deals because you were able to pretty much just solidify, I guess, what exactly that looked like?
That's a really good question, and I was fortunate to have a trampoline already laid out there. Nice. Because he is one of the best athletes that I've ever met, and already understanding from the day that he started. His family, he didn't get into racing because he had a ton of money to just come in, and sponsorship wasn't there and ready. He had to work and grind for it. So in his early days, the first time he met Smithfield was because he just decided, I'm going to spend as much time as possible with them. I'm going to bring their kids up on this truck with me and get them to ride around at driver intros. I don't know if anything will come of it, but I know that I am this, like you said, I'm the brand. I need to show them that I care, and I'm going to catapult this relationship if I spend a lot of time and truly build a relationship. So him getting in that way is already set that foundation. Like, he was already set, knowing I have to pay so much attention to the brands, but do it in the authentic, real way, because that's how I'm going to keep racing for the rest of my life. I'm a talented driver. I'm a great athlete, but spending time in relationships is the biggest thing. But to segue into teaching more about that and growing more on that is he didn't really care about social media necessarily. And he didn't know as much about how can I be a brand in other capacities. So having that social media background, having a videographer background and a media background, it was really easy to come in and go, hey, this sunglass partner, you're going to wear this no matter what. The sun's out. So we need to have a sunglass partner. Now, Shady Rays. Shout out Shady Rays.
Do you guys have a promo code you want to plug or anything?
I believe AA50.
There you go. Take it. Take it, people.
Take it out. So just to utilize, hey, we could hire a team and just have video ready. We could make reels. We could do this. We could do that. And after a while, he didn't realize, I don't actually have to think and do all of this. I just have to understand that this needs to be done. Mm-hmm. And so educating him on that was key. And after that, it's how do we get more partners that relate to our brands? What are things that I'm already doing? I'm going to Clean Juice every day, spending dollars. Is there any hope there? Sure, we got a little Clean Juice deal. I drink water every single day. Is there a water company? Hey, Essential Water. We can have a bottle in his hand at all times. Can you do a deal? Yes, let's do it. So everything that he's already doing, shoes, we talked to some people at Brooks, everything we're doing that he would normally do in his daily life was just educating, you don't have to go way out of your way and do something so inauthentic that you make, 10 grand just to go fly out and do something that you have no love for. And that was something that, he instilled early too, is if I don't like the brand, I don't really care how much money is in it for me. What am I going to do with that if they just pay me and then I don't talk to them anymore and I just made money? How is that going to help me grow in the future if we just made some money and then said goodbye with no relationship?
100%, man. And you said the magical word. You said inauthentic. I was going to say, obviously authenticity, because as you said, the sun's out. You wear sunglasses. What sunglasses do you wear? Let's just reach out to that company. A lot of this stuff, it isn't rocket science, but it's sometimes so simple. People don't get it, and clearly you were able and capable of getting it very quickly. That it's hey, you're just doing all these things. So, I spoke with, back when I was selling sponsorship with athletes. I remember speaking to a guy over at Chipotle, and he was just if they're not talking about Chipotle on a weekly or a semi-cadence, some sort of cadence, we see that. We know the athletes. We know the people that are talking about us and what they say and when they say it and why they love us and this, that, and the other thing. Those are the athletes we're then going to turn around and be able to give money to or want to give money to, because we already know they're doing it anyway. We already got all this free publicity, and now we can just pay them to get more publicity, and they're happy, we're happy, their fans are happy, our fans are happy. It's just, when you just think about it like that, it's well, yeah, no shit. That actually just completely makes sense.
100%. Yep. Yeah, I think people think of it the opposite way a lot. And they go, well, don't do anything until, they just hey. And you're no, you don't understand. The people that actually work here are real people just like us, and they can see through the crap. they know immediately if you're not, if you weren't already a lover of it. A lot of times they'll go, well, let's have you try it out first, and see if you like it. And usually that's already a bad sign, because you have to try it out. It's like, well, oh yeah, my athlete's never heard of it. We'll see. So yeah, no, you
100%.
nailed that.
Completely agree with you there, man. I think that's awesome. So I want to understand a little bit more now. So you're starting to get deeper and deeper into business manager. You're starting to get much more into partnerships and integrations. Where, I mean, we can bring up a couple of them. Your Go Bowling as well as Pit Boss, some things that you've done, and we can talk about the pandemic specific stuff in a little bit. But like that 360 approach that you really hit it with, that social, that video, that activation side, really like. Give me an understanding where that comes from, and how, as you said, and you kind of gave an example with Aric, it was just like, hey, like he's just doing these things. We just have to have the cameras roll. When it comes more to the activation side of things and really trying to push and you know, as easy as it sounds, go viral, like how are you able to either come up with these ideas or work with these partners, work with your drivers to make sure that everybody's happy and you're really doing, you know, fun stuff, right? That's what all people want to see in social media. That's how you go viral, right? Is either you're a piece of crap or you do something that's pretty fun and people are like, that's kind of cool, right? Like, so how are you able to really go about and either formulate these ideas or work with the team around you to do that?
Yeah, no, it's, again, like you said, 360 approach. Every time we have a big hit, it came from one of these approaches. It came from either the media side or the video side or social or business and relationships. And in this case, so Go Bowling, one of our partners, you know, we got invited to go to a celebrity bowling tournament. It was one of the things it was a Chris Paul celebrity bowling tournament, aired before the Super Bowl. Really cool opportunity. And we're there, and there's the number one bowler in the world, Jason Belmonte, two-handed bowler, great guy. He's there, and I've always thought about this idea. Was in the back of my head. It was like, Dude Perfect does all these cool stunts, and you know that's great. But like, what if we just came up with something outlandish that nobody would believe could actually happen, and take all of that 360 approach and just do it. We have the number one bowler here. We have a NASCAR driver. Why not throw a bowling ball out of the side of the race car as fast as we can make a race car or show car go, wrap it in Go Bowling, and see if we can make it go viral. And that's exactly what we did. We kind of formulated that plan while we were there. We talked about it, and the process to make it happen was terrifying, because I presented this great idea to everybody, and then I'm like, well, there's about 492 steps before it could actually happen. You have to reach out to the racetrack. Here's where the internship came in. I have all these amazing connections with the racetrack, and we found a way to help promote, you know, the race that was coming up as well. So they let us use the racetrack, use the race team to help us get a show car together. Obviously, Go Bowling was super excited to do this, and man, we went out there, we went out to the racetrack, and we're like, this looks hard. Oh my gosh, there's no way this is.
Yeah, how's someone just leaning out of the side of the car? Is it just their arm with a bowling ball? I mean, that thing's going 100 and change. Like,
it's 140.
Hard to hold the ball.
Yep.
At that point, right?
Well,
like,
one of the processes me, I literally getting in a show car and sending videos. Now, Jason Belmonte lives in Australia, so he has no way of coming and practicing or seeing how this works. So I'm sitting in the car, strapped in, holding a bowling ball, and I'm like, all right, Belmo, like, this is how it's going to look when we do it. I don't know if you're going to be able to put your finger in it or what. And so we got a little bit of an idea of what it was going to look like. And so going through those processes, working with the racetrack, we go out, we do the first try and completely miss. Ball almost hits the back of the car and like destroys the undercarriage. We had to set up a tire barrier down there at the end of the turn. We took us, so four more tries we missed. Fifth try, nailed it. Everybody's excited. We're doing burnouts. We're going crazy. It was a blast. Other than the one bowling ball that flipped over the tire wall and ended up going around turn 1 and turn 2.
Oh wow!
So happened to be a guy painting over there that we didn't think we were going to have to worry about, and the bowling ball comes slowly passing the guy.
It was slow. It's okay.
It was slow. I'm like radio, and we had an ambulance out there. I'm like, we're good if anything bad happens, but it didn't, and we survived. So where the viral campaign kind of blew up was, you know, we created this 8-minute long form version, but the real work hadn't started yet. A lot of people would think, let's post this to social media and just see what happens. okay, well, how do you guarantee for something to go viral if you just post it and see what happens? So this is where the media component came in. I went to work, man. I stayed up till 3 a.m. on that first day, probably 3 a.m. the next day, and I'm pitching every single person. I'm Instagram DMing every single account, House of Highlights, ESPN, NBC, Fox Sports, until I could finally find traction. And lo and behold, Lad Bible got a hold of it, and I think there was a Unilad, I think it's called. And once it hit those two, it was number 1 and number 2 trending video in the world for that hour, and it just snowballed from there. It kept going. We got it on the live NBC broadcast for the race, just continuing to pitch. And what I'll say to all the viewers, if you're in media, if you're in social media, the amount you're going to get out of it is the amount of effort you're going to put in. You can never have enough effort. To this day, I realize that just a text away can get you an incredible opportunity for your athlete, and you could have very easily been like, they're not going to go for that. I mean, it's just a text away, a pitch away, and it guaranteed us to go viral.
I think that's such a great point, right? So many people are like, but this is so cool. I'm just going to put it on YouTube, right? Like, I'm just going to put it there, and then I'll post it on, on a couple of ours, and then it'll just get found. It's like, well, no, like, to make sure that it gets found, what you did was you put in an insane amount of work to say, hey, look what I have. I'm pitching you on this story. Are you going to take it? Do you want it? What are you going to say about it? And then, as you said, all you needed to do was it took you a little while, but you eventually got 2 major sites to be able to then throw their weight behind it. They do that, and then, as you said, it snowballs from there. You probably aren't getting nearly the amount of publicity from it if you're just posting it. You'll probably get some, right? It's a cool video. It's fun. People are going to pay attention to it. But the fact that you got it trending on multiple sites and then it's on the NBC broadcast, right? And I'm sure Go Bowling got significantly more money. Whatever they paid, they'd do it again tenfold, I'm sure, because of the opportunity and the effort, most likely, that you put behind it.
Yep. And quickly they did. We did the longest strike at Watkins Glen here recently, 750 feet. So
love it. I'll ask you what the dollar amounts are afterwards, and hopefully you got a sweet commission. But I think that's the important part, right? And I think it's awesome that you're able to, again, not just find the business opportunities, right? Which, again, if you think about it, isn't rocket science. You're just saying, what are you doing every day? Who are the brands you're doing them with? And we'll go from there. It's pretty simple. I'm sure there's other things that you're doing as well. Let's not make it out here to be too easy, because if it was so easy, Dakota, everybody would do it.
Right.
But I also think that it's really important that you're then helping in other areas, right? You're looking at the video. How are we going to do that? You're capable of editing, as you said. Other people are doing that now, but you understand. You have the vision. You have the understanding. You're essentially directing at that point, which I think is cool. And then, again, you're putting in that effort on the media side, the PR side, the communication side, to make sure that something like that is not going to just get a minimal amount of views. You're absolutely pushing to get the maximum amount of views, which then makes that company happy, which then brings it back to you, which then makes your athletes happy, which I think is pretty important. The other one that I really wanted to talk about was the Pit Boss relationship that you guys have, through Smithfield Foods, correct? That's the
brand? So Smithfield is our main sponsor. Okay. Yep, and and Pit Boss has been on board for a few years now as well.
Love it. Okay, so during the pandemic, not sure if you heard about it, but kind of the whole world shut down. And it was kind of a drag, right? There was those first 6-7 months where everyone was like, what the hell's going on? You took that as an opportunity to go find more money, to go find more opportunities, right? I think racing was one of the first things that came back, if I'm not mistaken, on TV, because we had the virtual racing, e-racing, iRacing, whatever the hell we were going to call it. It was I watched it. It was something. Like, I'm addicted to sports, so I'll watch literally anything at that. That's how I got into soccer, actually. But talk to me a little bit, like, what are you guys doing during this time in terms of, hey, are we going to do the e-racing, iRacing, whatever the hell it was called? How are we going to utilize it? What are we doing with our brand partners? We still want to get paid. They still want advertising. How are you kind of, especially in those beginning days and really leading up to some of these cool opportunities, how are you having those conversations? What are you guys doing?
Yeah. And so I'll back up on the foundation of how this was able to happen. The Smithfield Foods relationship, that's our main sponsor. Fortunately, great people. They're always looking to innovate. They're always looking for new ways of getting their brand out there with Aric. And a huge part of this was about a year before the pandemic. I noticed this huge gap in how we're going to collect content. Smithfield needs content for campaigns all the time. They need content of their athlete. They need their athlete to relate and grow even larger. So we had a video crew out, and they cost a fortune, and they did a terrible job with something. And I said, why don't we just go find some kid out of Clemson, because their graphic department is awesome, and I see all the stuff they're doing. I want to just go pull a kid out of college and hire him to be the full-time videographer for Aric and Smithfield. They're like, yeah, okay, go do that. Okay, let's. How do I do that? I reach out, find a kid on Instagram, DM him and say, hey, I really like your stuff. I'd like to talk to you about hiring you. Hire him, start him about 3 months later, and this is where we kick off a series called Beyond the 10. That's Aric's life beyond racing. It's integrated with Smithfield very, very authentically. There's no pushing of the brand or the product, but he truly eats bacon. He truly makes ham sandwiches with his family. I mean, it's a real thing. So all this things,
like, I'm sorry to cut you. It's just so, like, it's so obvious. Like, it's like, of course, he eats sandwiches, guys. It's not rocket science.
That's
but
right.
Again, it's so simple. It's too easy. And and I appreciate the fact, and I will continue to harp on this probably for the next 5 or 6 minutes. It's so easy, and you're just smarter than everyone else, Dakota. I can't say it any other way.
I might work harder, but I'm definitely not smarter.
That's good enough for me. It's incredible. I love it.
It works. It works, man. And so we kicked it off, man. And it was a series that, hey, like the first driver docuseries that was going to be on YouTube that was ran by the driver that authentically weaved every single partner he did. That's how we got the world's fastest strike. That's how we got all this. So fast forward, and we're crushing it. We're getting it on Fox. I mean, Fox is talking about it. They're saying, hey, go subscribe to YouTube. You see the number just fly up there because it's on live television. And we're getting all this momentum. Well, boom, pandemic hits. And, whole world stops, and sports stop, and everything stops. And you're just wondering, okay, what are we going to do? Well, fortunately, again, I worked harder. I don't think I was smart because I didn't know that this was going to happen. We had 4 episodes, maybe 5, already in the bank that were going to air throughout the season that didn't have anything to do with the race weekend. It was how he met his wife. It was cooking content at the house. It was a 20 questions with Aric while he's working out. Like, this is gold. This is perfect. We have tons of stuff to do while no one else has anything going on. And we're not allowed to go over there right now, so we just have it. Let's push it out. So we were able to push that out. We put out a press release. Was like Beyond the 10 and Chill. It was like a play off of Netflix. Like, just binge watched all of his YouTube channel. His subscriber growth went way up, and everybody paid attention to it, which was awesome. And then to segue into the Pit Boss relationship. We were already kind of working on a conversation with them, but what better time to launch a grill company with the guy who has the #1 pork supplier in the U.S. than when you're sitting at home with nothing else to do other than cook and grill. So, we go through the pandemic a little bit. We get all these Beyond the 10 episodes out, and we get this partnership with Pit Boss. They already had a relationship with NASCAR. So once we were allowed to actually be together again, we went and filmed content. Smithfield, Pit Boss, and we got to put them on NASCAR's channels. So instead of his 200,000, 300,000 followers, you're talking millions and millions. And these videos are doing 600,000, 700,000, 800,000 views through NASCAR, and they're collaborating with us. So it was a perfect storm, but it was a great way to go back to that 360 approach of, we did everything, and we didn't know if all of those things were going to pay off, but because of that one thing we did in that 360 approach, just even when a tragedy happens and the world shuts down, we still have content. We still have assets to take care of these brands with these athletes. So it's just it was a cool time. It felt like a big win when you're sitting at home and you're still selling partnerships, and they're authentic and real, and you're not worrying about just making money, but you're literally still growing. And years later, we're still with them.
Yeah, and it's awesome, right? As you said, you were literally the only game in town at that point, right? There was nothing that was going on. Everything was essentially shut down. Like, you needed something to do. Everyone already loved your driver, right? And now, as you said, not only could we put it on his YouTube page, we were able to get on the NASCAR YouTube page, which then obviously funnels down right to you guys. So continuing to grow that subscriber base, it's just such a great way of looking about it. You could have started from scratch, but it clearly would not have had the same impact, obviously, which then allows you to say, well, because we started this multiple years earlier and we thought of all these ideas, and they're kind of more of an expense than they were, on the light item than actually a profit. They ended up being extremely useful. And then, you just kind of hit that critical mass, and you guys are just making money, which I think is awesome. And again, it's authentic. Great. It's fun too, right? Like, it's just fun to do this stuff. It's not, we're doing business, but at the same time, you're grilling, you're chilling, you're having a good time. Like, do you guys have a beer sponsor yet? Can I ask?
So our Stewart House Racing has Anheuser-Busch as a partner. Yeah.
Look at that. So you're drinking a Freedom. You're grilling some brats. Like, does it get any better than that, man? I don't know. Like, that's awesome.
You can't beat it. You can't beat that.
That's a day. I couldn't care less if it's a pandemic or not. I'm enjoying that.
That's right.
Dude, I love it. I think just, again, I can't compliment you enough on just the way you're thinking about it and how you're doing it. And again, it's you keep saying you're clearly smarter. Let's just be, I'll say it. You don't have to be humble anymore. But you are very also clearly working harder than a lot of other people because of the way that you're thinking. It's, work smarter, not harder. Well, you're doing both. Like, why don't people do both? Why don't you work smart and work really hard at it? Because that's going to get you, instead of working one or the other, you can do both and get significantly higher places, which I think is awesome. And you're able to take advantage of what does a brand look like? What do these drivers look like? What are they doing? How are they doing it? Let's do some authentic content around that because people like content. That's what the internet is at this point. It's just all content, right? Like, that's all the internet is. So, like, if you're not putting out content, you're not doing it right. And clearly you saw that before other people did. And, again, kudos and congratulations. So I want to learn a little bit more about, I guess, kind of what you're doing now, what your current role, soon-to-be current role is, right? Like, you have such this great brain when it comes to partnerships and communicating and media. Like, I mean, they're not just going to, no offense to Aric, but they're not just going to let you work with one driver, right? You're too damn good at your job, man. You better be working with everybody soon.
Yeah. So, fortunately, I've been lucky to work with a lot of drivers already in the media capacity, and even to this day, still work with Kevin Harvick. I've worked with Danica Patrick and Tony Stewart and Clint Boyer, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, you name it. A lot of drivers that have come through here, but now we're getting to a point where, hey, we've been able to do this for a veteran driver for many years. We've done it really well with that 360 approach. Why aren't other people doing this? So one of the new roles that we're looking at expanding is, how do we get some of the younger drivers involved in this? How do we start them out to where they have a really good foundation that Aric was fortunate to have years back? How do we reach out to them and go, don't worry about the low-hanging fruit right now. Don't worry about this or that. Let's get you well-rounded so that you can start here and when that, that type of pandemic happens, or that's never going to happen again. Let's
knock on wood on that one.
When something big happens like that, you're well-rounded, and when big success happens, you're well-rounded, and you can play off that. So that's kind of where we're moving into right now. We've acquired a couple brands in the sport that we also do social media for as a brand and a property. We've worked with some young drivers in the sport here and there in the media aspect of things, but we've got a lot of good irons in the fire right now that we hope we can grow and build. And honestly, it truly comes from the heart that we all grew up around racing. We all have a love and passion for sports. So when it comes to revenue and dollars and things like that, that's not top of mind. It's how do we turn this person at a young age that has such a good potential to grow and elevate their brand and their personality and their driving on the track and do that and have our name on it and be able to say that I helped you, and you may not have been able to do this if it wasn't for the foundation that we helped you build.
And it comes in multiple fashions, right? Like, at the same time, like, racing would probably want a guy who, if it's tied between the 42nd and 43rd guy, only one of them can make it, probably the one with the bigger brand, right? Like, well, let's just be honest about that. I think that part's extremely important about it. And not only that, these athletes, they're young, right? They might not pan out to be who they, potentially could be in terms of being greats in the sport, but they're going to have this brand forever. They're always going to have a brand. Aric is always going to have his brand. He's always, that YouTube page is his, if I'm not mistaken. So, like, right. he is going to have that. He's always going to be able to utilize that. He's always going to have an opportunity to continue to make money off his name of what he's been able to accomplish long after he's done in the sport. And he'll probably get even more popular as time goes on, right? Like, so the opportunity that comes with it is not just single. It is not only well rounded, right, but it touches each part. It's the Venn diagram's just a circle at that point. It
That's
all
right.
is connected very much so, and I think that's the important part. And you guys again have been able to clearly see that. So again, kudos. I love what you guys do. Keep doing it, man.
I appreciate that.
I love it, dude. Well, Dakota, this has been absolutely fantastic. Where can we find more information about you? Where can we find more information about the athletes that you're working with? LinkedIn, your Instagram page, their Instagram page, whatever you want to drop. I'll put all the links in the show notes, but you tell me, what do you got?
Awesome. Yeah, our agency's True Speed Communications, www.truespeedcommunication.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, just Dakota Hunter. I'm on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter, I don't think. I'm on Facebook.
It's the worst place on planet Earth.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Yeah, you got a ghost on there. But yeah, man, we are always looking for opportunities. If you're an athlete, if you're a brand, if you're anyone who would like to reach out, if you want to reach out for any type of advice or just to meet up and have coffee in our industry, I'm always open to speaking with anybody. And hey, maybe I'll learn something from you as well.
Can't hurt, man.
Absolutely.
Worst case, you have a great conversation. Look at that.
And a nice cup of coffee.
And a nice well, hopefully a good cup of coffee. But
Yeah,
whatever. No, man, sincerely, I'll put all the links in the show notes for everyone so they can go check you out and everything that you guys are doing. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the audience for theirs. Time's the only thing we don't get more of. So we sincerely do appreciate everyone for theirs. But other than that, man, this has been absolutely fantastic. I appreciate the masterclass, and hopefully some people learn some stuff. That's all I got.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This has been awesome.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Good talking to
Bye,
you.
everybody.